we are spending $120 billion of, $120 billion, that's around 6% of our GDP in the healthcare sector. The government spend itself is 180,000 crores, which is not a small amount, right? Though it looks small, given the number of people in the country. How do you really leverage all of this and bring out value from here? So, there are many opportunities. You can obviously look, you go to certain hospitals, you have these MRI devices where they are not able to run it in the night. So, obviously, they are running it for 16 hours, 8 hours is being loaded on the patients. Is there a way for integrating some of these hospitals together so that if I have a bed and I have a patient, right, and somebody else is having a patient, I can actually collaborate together and maybe having a 70-30 model to bring the patient in, or I can, actually give out my MRI or CT scan, very high priced devices. The MRI is actually costing 6 to 8 crores, right, and you have to get back the money in 5 years flat, right? Can I have, people coming in the night from another hospital with whom I am integrated through some mechanism, right? So there can be efficiency possible, in the asset perspective, from patient comfort perspective, from standardization perspective. Today, if you look at the healthcare in this country, you have this disease code ICD-9, ICD-10, which has been adopted. ICD-9 we have adopted. There is no standardization of procedure. If you go to a typical hospital and spend time, you'll find that 4 nurses are, running behind the doctor to say, sir, what is the procedure you have done? And the doctor will be saying, yes, I have done this, based on the billing will be happening, right? So there is no standardization of procedure, and there are 20,000 procedures possible in the healthcare. There is no standardization of your, of your assets. There is no standardization of pharmaceutical pharma products, right? So everybody is building their own codes. They are all, everybody is tracking their own assets. Now, can you actually standardize it across the country? And not very difficult. It has been done in many other countries, right? So this is an assessment which we have done. What are the various departments? Of course, it is sort of a patient flow. As you come into the hospital, starting with the reception, you go all the way to maybe inpatient, operation theatre, and ultimately you check out. If you just look at that, where all the various technologies are interfacing with you and what is the criticality and what sort of adoption we have today. Okay, so before the next segment, and I will take maybe just 2 minutes to finish. I hope I have a couple of minutes left. Okay. So before I get into the next segment, I just wanted to tell, and this is my view, it is not Infosys' view, and this is obviously not our new CEO's view. He has just joined today as CEO. I don't know what his view is, but Vishal Sikka, right? So I think that while we might be thinking about things to change in healthcare, it is not going to change in the next 10 years. Broadly, it will remain same. Just to increase the number of beds from 0.9 to 1.5, which is a suggested number for a developing country, and 2, which is suggested number for a developed country, we have to spend $80 billion every year for next 20 years. Just not possible. So given that boundary condition, if you accept it, and if you really look at this big problem of healthcare and disaggregate it into smaller components and see where all we can make some difference using some common sense, some process changes, and use of technology, right? So I have taken 4 or 5 cases, and this is not this is of course a patient. So I will not run through all of them, but you go to a hospital today, typically you spend 1 hour just to see a doctor, right? And doctor will say do a procedure, go to a lab, so you give your blood or whatever. You actually come back after 2 days, you find that lab report is not ready. May not be you, means I am not saying the people in the room. Typically, if you are not connected, you expect, and you find the doctor is not there, the doctor has gone to the OT. Now we still manage, right? But look at a daily level, who go to a PHC, right? And there is no doctor, there is no nurse, there is no medicine, and they are asked to do a procedure, and then you actually no, sorry, this is a different case study. I'm sorry, I have taken. So I'll come back to this. It's an interesting one. Okay. I'm okay. I'm sorry. So I have been preparing all through the night. So anyway, so if you look at a daily level, that person goes to a hospital. Doctor is not there. 1 day's wage is lost. They go another day. The report is not there. There's another another day's wage is lost. If you just take that some amount of estimate that 50% of the PHC visit, primary healthcare visits, are non-productive, or 30% of the people like us has to do a lab or a radiology intervention and look at the number of patients, only assuming that in the private sector there are 50,000 beds. I have made an estimate, it looks like some 2,500 crores are wasted, right? Just from the perspective of, putting your minimum wage and the number of hours people are waiting in hospital or traveling to the hospital, coming back. It's a lot of money. If you look at US, there is estimate, there is no study in India. They are saying they are spending $1.3 trillion in healthcare and $300 billion is wastage. Exactly the same level of wastage. I would not be surprised if we are spending 50% of our healthcare cost is just wastage which can be taken out. Now, very simple SMS-based process where 840 million phones with everybody can be done just to say your report is there, your consultant is there, come back, right? And again, this is beyond the 50,000 bed elite beds. I'm talking of the 950,000 bed sort of hospitals, right? If you look at today hospitals, you take 6 hours to check out if you have insurance, right? If you check out from a hotel, 5-star hotel, you take only 20 minutes. If you just take this number, assuming 50,000 top-end hospital beds in the country, and average stay is 2.5 days. These are numbers which I have sort of got from market. 50% of your cases are insurance. If you just aggregate that, right, and typical revenue productivity of a hospital bed is 75 lakhs and 50 lakhs to 1 crore. Actually we are spending some 500 crores, and this 500 crores is coming back to the patients, right? Maybe 5,000 rupees each every time you are getting admitted. It can be very simplified, made into half-an-hour process just by strengthening our third-party administrator, integrating our, the insurance payers and the providers, and standardization of the data, right? Not very difficult, can be done, right? Third is, if you take today the people who are moving across the country, so many people are moving, laborers, daily laborers, migrants, people coming from city, rural India to cities, 200 million people will be moving, people going from private healthcare to tertiary, community healthcare center. Every time you go, you get your test done, right? So you don't do it, you ultimately aggravate your situation, ultimately you are in a situation where there is a huge cost on the nation to treat you, right? Can this data, simple data, can be taken on a smart card, which will cost you 50 rupees. Some of these basic reports and your, data like your name, father's name, whatever, every time we are filling up, right? We can just take a portability at various levels, basic data, lab data, radiology data, MRI and CT scan data. Lot of this cost can be released from the system. Every time we go to the hospital, there is a billion visits in the hospital today in the country, more than a billion. Every time you go to the hospital first time, 20 minutes they are filling up a form, right? Billion people filling up a form a year. Make it in a smart card, connect it to UID, and let there be a point of sale device in every hospital, swipe it, your data is there, 20 into billion. What sort of money you are releasing in the system, right? So this is my last slide. Now this is a very important slide. I think, as the way in India is not a country where service can solve the problem, because it's a very large country, it's a lot of people everywhere. It is not possible to go everywhere and implement your solution. India has to adopt a productized model, not exactly a product, because the product is a very evolved situation, we don't know everybody's requirement. It has to be a platform which is modular in nature, where small companies can build specific solution, which is probably for managing your appointments, managing your checkout, managing your probably integration with the insurance companies, and they will come and port it on the platform. The platform can be open system. It can be obviously, you have to make it open so that people can come, and somebody will have to build this platform, maintain it. Maybe it will be Infosys will build it and get money out of transaction. The transaction can be admission, can be a number of beds, or can be a lab report. But that is where we need to really move. We have to break down this large problem, take it piece by piece, find out the cost benefit analysis, build solution, put it on a platform, allow people to come and take it, break the capital cost into revenue cost, pay by transaction, and become more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Khashnovish. We just heard on the very important industry, the healthcare industry. We heard how today IT enables only the administrative part of healthcare for the most part, and that is also in the best of hospitals. And he was wondering how it is with the more poorer hospitals. And he went on to comment on how IT should probably try to be more of an enabler rather than a problem solver. And he talked about some of the simple problems that could be solved with simple technologies which can free up cash for the transactions which will continue to remain human-based. So a lot of intriguing thoughts. We'll come back and discuss them. We next move to Shumit Chaudhary from Reliance, and we will hear more about the perspective from the communication industry.
Okay, I'm going to start off where both Dipankar and Dinesh left off, because what they were talking about essentially is where people talk to people, people talk to machines, machines talk to machines, and store the data, analyze the data, and send it back to machines, send it back to people. How do you do it? You do it by connecting them through networks, and the opportunities that present itself by having good, robust networks in the country. The problem that we face today, I mean, everybody talked about all the problems, so let's talk for a minute on problems, is that we have built 2G, 3G networks in this country which are fairly pathetic. I was involved in making them also, so I will take blame along with everything else. All of you will probably understand what I'm talking about. We got a lot of people on phones, but a lot of them don't connect, call drops happen, data is not good, hardly you get GPRS, leave alone 3G, and forget about building anything that was said by both Dinesh and Dipankar. I'm sorry, but none of what they said will work, because machines don't talk to machines, they require network, and the network is not there. We need this network to be distributed, we need this network to be connected all the time, so that these processes are available all the time. You can't have a solution where it is connecting sometimes and not connecting the other times. I was talking to the CIO of Hindustan Lever and how they synchronize their databases for their distribution of their products to their distributors. They have got 1200 databases, not one system, 1200 systems. Each one is connecting to one distributor who in once a day syncs up and tells what the inventory level is. Now think about transforming that completely and having that inventory available every second, every minute. It changes the entire dynamics of the process that they use to distribute their goods. It changes the entire profitability model of that industry. Talk about what Dipankar was talking about in terms of hospitals, beds, collaborating. How do beds announce that they are available? How do beds announce that they are available at any part of the city or locality? You're sitting over here in one part of Kolkata, if the bed is available 20 kilometers away, it doesn't really help you. You need to know in the geography what it is. So there's a lot of collaboration that can happen, but it requires robust networks. And I'll talk a little bit very quickly about what is possible through robust 4G networks. Now I'm not saying that we are building one which is available tomorrow, but it's a thought process of what is possible. Right? So essentially we are looking at building something which is broadband, which is therefore able to transmit data, lots of data, video as well as regular data all the time, reliable, which is available all the time. It is meaningful. You're not transmitting garbage. It is real data which is used for some analysis of some sort, and it is affordable, because most of these solutions have failed because we have made it really unaffordable. 3G took a long time to come to par with 2G because people were just not able to afford it for a long period of time, and therefore no further investment happened. So how do you get sustained investment in these areas such that we can build robust networks? So as I was talking about devices connecting to each other, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that whole new paradigm where we are going to move towards machines to machine, and then the next few slides are what will happen when these networks become capable of dealing with machines and not just the voice networks that exist today, because you'll pretty much be struggling with connecting disparate systems if you do that, right? So in the future you're going to see opportunities coming out because 50 billion wirelessly connected devices will be there in the next couple of years, and you will be surprised to know that 20-25 billion of those are in China alone. China has decided to spend $620 billion in this area alone of connecting machines, of having smart cities. They put a plan of putting 320 smart cities by 2015. You will be surprised to know that in 3 years' time, that is in 4 years or 5 years' time, in 3 years' time 213 cities are over, ready. And we are still struggling to put a framework together in India as to what a smart city should look like. The difference is stark, and we shouldn't even compare these two, but this is what is going to happen, where everything is connected, and through robust networks, signals to water supply, healthcare, roads, power, electricity, everything is connected to each other in a way that you are able to manage the infrastructure quite interestingly. And that is where a huge amount of opportunity lies for all of us, to go in and understand and build those networks, which are different than voice networks that we have been building so far, right? So we are looking at smart offices, smart industry, smart homes, and if we think about these differently, we will not be building voice networks on which we are going to plug in data. So we are going to start thinking about a dedicated network only for this particular purpose, right? And that is where we will be able to leapfrog into the next generation of opportunities for all of us in IT. This is where IT and telecom come together actually, because we have IT folks who understand how to connect IT systems, but they do not understand how to integrate it deeply into the network. And the opportunity lies in making this transition happen of IT people understanding network or network people understanding IT. Luckily, so I come from both the worlds, being in consulting and in IT as well as in telecom. So this space is where I personally spend a lot of time understanding and pushing, right? So we are creating this whole digital framework, and we said somebody has to build it, as Deepankar said, somebody has to build this platform, maybe Infosys will build it, but that is, or IBM for that matter. We'll leave Oracle to not building anything right now, just applying. Yeah, absolutely. So, oh, you have, see, she said, don't forget Ericsson. Yeah, Ericsson will also provide services, and equipment and networks. So you will have this network and the intelligent platform. You will have the product creation and commercialization framework, as well as briefly talked about innovation that is happening in this space, because innovation doesn't need to be the 13%. There needs to be innovation in everything we do. Even in the simplest operation that we do, we need to find innovation when we have this platform ready. And people should be building it open, as was talked about before, in a way that they can integrate it into the network very easily. Right? So what we think we should be building is this whole network as an intelligent platform, and then industry verticals. And we briefly talked about it. Healthcare as one of the verticals. But if I look at what I am doing right now, is building these verticals in education. We are building some quite interesting things of what we can do with, when you have a 4G connection, when everybody has broadband connection, how can we transform education? How can we transform media entertainment, retail, e-commerce, or any of these, or government services? So we are trying to build these vertical solutions on top of a very open platform, which will allow us to manage devices, manage anything that is out there which is an IP address on the other side. We will be able to manage it, deploy new solutions, we will be able to address it and do things which was not possible before. Yeah? And so the vision with which we are working is to essentially work with partners, not try to build everything ourselves, is take what we are building in the network as an intelligent platform, work with partners, work with other partners who are focused on understanding specific verticals very well, and then go to consumers. It's not that everybody has to be brought in and then take to market and we will take it to market. It is like this collaboration needs to happen in a way that in some cases we will front, some cases the partners will front, and we'll create an ecosystem. So the team that I lead right now, it's called Geo Ecosystem, which is essentially building an ecosystem of companies who are going to build solutions around these spaces. And these are the areas that we are working on: agriculture, education, transportation, healthcare, retail, and all of these come under what many companies call IoT, smart cities, whatever you want to call it. But this is where, for IT people also, the number of opportunities that open up for us to think differently. And again, some of these very specific solutions which are there in areas we talked about. I mean, very interestingly, I'll give an anecdotal thing. We are actually flying drones now to do solutions that were not possible before. We are connecting anything that you were thinking in 2D. We are putting 4G and drones together and make it into 3D. Now you can think about so many solutions that you can do when you put these two together. Next week we are going to fly drones in our plant in Jamnagar and trying to come up with some very interesting use cases, and we can have an offline discussion around that. Now if you just think about that space alone, we have identified some 100 use areas in different industries that can use this service and create solutions that were not possible before. And so essentially what we are doing is transforming ourselves from just being a bandwidth provider or being a integrated bandwidth provider, integrated telecom company which is doing various things independently. Our voice is different team, our data is a different team and a different network, to creating a platforms company that is going to create these platforms for others to build solutions on. So we are not necessarily building a telecom company, but a digital services platform which will allow all of these vertical people to independently work with this platform with open APIs and develop their own solutions. Right? So I'll just show a visualization of it. I mean, essentially you're looking at the rich communication services, mobility, you've got Internet of Things, you've got cloud, video, all of these are layered platforms on top of what both Dipankar and Nesh talked about. Right? Anyway, that's the end of what I have to say, and then we'll hand it over back to you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. While I summarize it, Mr. Bhattacharjee will correct our machine. So we just heard from Sumit Chaudhary about the importance of networks, the way he said it, that all these promising services and solutions will not be possible unless we have robust networks to power them. In fact, it reminds me of a AT&T ad I heard in the US 20 years back, where James Earl Jones used to come in the ad and say, a mobile phone is only as good as the network it is on. Otherwise it is of no use. So, and that still remains true. All of these promises will not work unless we can build the kind of networks he talked about, which can carry meaningful information in the requisite volumes, the requisite mix of data, and affordably for all these services to be empowered. He talked about how these can really enable and solve some of the problems, and he talked about the importance of partnering with different providers who have the parts of the knowledge, because he recognized that there's a gap between what IT understands and what networks understands. It's important to bring them together. So thanks, Mr. Chaudhary. We will now have our last speaker, Kosturi Bhattacharjee from Ericsson Global, and we should be ready in a second to start.